In this episode, I am going to show you how to make glow-in-the-dark Halloween Mickey ears. This is a project that I saw on social media. I will post a picture of what the ears look like. I am creating my own version with glow-in-the-dark yarn, which the project that I will be showing actually it's just regular yarn. Ours is glow in the dark. You're gonna need a pair of scissors, even if they're little kid scissors, and a 4.5 millimeter crochet hook for you to use. And sorry, you can see that this has been very much loved and used. But I just wanted to make sure I give you the correct, and it's like a 4.5 hook that we'll be using. So you will also need some thread and a needle to sew in the eyes, nose, mouth, and a headband also that I am going to put in the link for. I purchased this material from Amazon. So I started to work on this last night in my couch, actually just trying to play with a couple of choices of how to approach this project. I see how the Minnie Mouse ghost could be made out of this, and this is very simple and rudimentary. The first chain was it was just 6 stitches, 6 chains, and then I did a single crochet and added very subtly crochet stitches along the side as I went along, rotating per each chain. And once I thought the length was good, and here is this is the front, this is the back. When I thought I reached a length that I believe was appropriate for the mini ear body, I kind of stop, and like I said, this is just single crochet that is flipped throughout the project, which every row. And to make the part of the skirt, if you will, that creates these ruffles, what you have to do is actually, I'm going to show you. I'm not going to need to create the ruffles for this ear, for this part of the ear, because I already did it in here, and this is pretty full. And also I think it'll be too much if I create a second set of ruffles on the other side. For this side of the ear, I think it'll be a little too much, and it's kind of heavy as it is, so I didn't want to make the headband too heavy. I am going to put in a link of the yarn that I purchased through Amazon, as well as headbands that I purchased through Amazon. I don't like when headbands dig into your head, so I ended up buying an extra large set of headbands. And I was wearing them for like a couple of hours the other day, and they seem like they're true to what is being advertised. They are for a little more comfortable to wear. They're not children's. I also wanted to let you guys know that I don't receive any type of compensation from Amazon or the vendors that are selling this type of materials that I'm using for my projects. I just like to share things that I think are good quality and that they have worked for me and that I can stand behind. That being said, maybe we can continue. So this is how I should have finished my row on the left hand side. And when you work on crochet, when you're going to start a new row, you're supposed to flip your work around, because otherwise it will not look so cohesive, the actual project. So I changed 2 chains, and now I am supposed to do 2 double crochets into the first space right here, the first chain right there that you see. So I'm going to take, and please ignore the yarn that is used right here. It will be put right back into the project. You won't even see it. So you're gonna wrap your hood around the yarn. You're gonna put it right underneath the first space you find. You're gonna pull through, leaving you with 3 loops around the hook. You're gonna pull over 2 hooks, and then you're going to pull 1 more. And now you're going to repeat this a second time on the same space. Leaves you with the 3 loops. You're going to put through, so you end up with 2 loops and then 1. And the purpose of that is to show you that you were supposed to end up with 3 double crochets on this hook, on this chain, in that space. And now you're going to do 3 double crochets on the next one. Same thing. Wrap your hook around the yarn, put it through the stitch, leaving you with 3 loops. You're going to grab yarn again and pull it through the first 2 loops, leaving you with 2 behind, and you're going to pull through and leaving you with 1. So that is your first double crochet that you had put into this stitch. Now you're going to make 2 more. Loop your hook around, insert it into the stitch, pull through the yarn, pull through the first 2 loops, pull through the second 2 loops, and there's your second double crochet on the same stitch. I'm going to do that again. And the goal is that in every stitch of the first single crochets that you created, you are going to insert 3 double crochets. That is the first set right here of crochets that will create this beautiful ruffle on the skirt. All right, we're going to do it again. I'm going to loop and pull it through. And we're going to do 2 more. 1 more. You can see how, if I put it sideways, is starting to curl a little bit. But what really is going to give it that really nice fluffy look is actually going to be when you finish all this row doing the same 3 double crochets into each space. Once you reach the very end, you're going to flip your work. And now you're going to insert 3 double crochets into every space again. Let me show you. And it's the same thing like you were doing before. I'm gonna loop the hook around the yarn, put it through the stitch, pull it through. Sometimes they get a little attached. So you just want to pull through the first 2 loops and leaving 2 behind, and then you pull through once more. Now you're going to repeat that 2 more times. And it might seem really tight, but it's okay, because that's what it helped it give that ruffle look. So I finished the first one. Now you're going to move into the next space, and you're going to do it one more time. 3 hooks, 3 double crochets in each space. And once you get a hang of it, it actually does move pretty fast. One thing that I wanted to ask you is that I would really appreciate if you subscribe to my channel if you would like to receive content similar to what I'm doing right now. I am a working mom and I love crafting. Crochet is one of my passions. I have been doing crochet for most of my life. I learned from my mom and my grandmother, and I do not have the skill set that especially my mom has for crochet. My grandmother did a lot of knitting, and I am ambidextrous, but I was left-handed as a child. So I have read that it's kind of difficult for people that are left-handed to knit. And that is actually my experience. I tend to pick up on crafting different techniques and different projects pretty easily, but not when it comes to knitting. Knitting is a challenge for me. It doesn't mean I have not done it, because I have, but it is not my fave. It can be really challenging for me. So my go-to projects with yarn really is crochet. And actually I read that when you crochet, it is actually a little bit better for you in terms of challenging your brain, because you are utilizing just one tool, the hook, and the yarn. When you knit, because you are using 2 tools, one in each hand, it is actually easier for your brain to knit than to crochet. Crocheting is more of a challenging task. So not to say anything negative about knitting. I admire people that knit because I struggle with it. But after I have put on 3 stitches into 3 double crochets into each stitch, you can see how the ruffle is starting to form. And this is what it will look like if I finish the whole row. And here on my desk is a little sunny, and I don't know if you can see this on the camera, but it's already a little bit of a glow to this yarn, which I really appreciate. Okay, since I myself did not need or wanted to use additional ruffles with this side of my body for Minnie, I am going to continue with my original plan, which is, I'm just going to cut it right here, and I am going to stuff it, put little arms, make little ears, and then I'm going to sew in a face and probably a cute little bow. And then I'm going to hot glue it into the headband. But before I get it too far ahead with this project, I actually want to show you how I created this little body. Mickey's body is going to be a little bit different, not so much symmetrical here, kind of like a triangle. I don't want it to look like that so much. I'm actually going to see if I can make it into an S. So that's how I'm envisioning my project. The beauty about crafting your own ideas is you can try to replicate work that someone else did, or you can create your own and do it as you go. So that's the next step that I'm gonna move with, is creating Mickey's body. Now that Minnie Mouse body is done, I am actually gonna put this away for now and start working on Mickey Mouse. I like to try my products, my stitches first, because there's always a period of trial and error, and this is what I came up with, and I'm pretty satisfied with what it looks like. So the one on the left is Minnie's body, and the one on the right is Mickey's body. You can see Minnie's gonna have a little ruffle skirt sort of thing, and Mickey is he's more shaped like an S, and they're gonna sit like this at the headband. So like I said, I tried it, and I'm pretty content with the head, the body, and the little ghostly tail, if you will. So how did I get to this place? I went back to just starting the project with the magic ring, and I kind of prefer to make mine like this. It's just a little bit easier for me. I ended up starting at the top of the head right here, and I believe I use a chain of 5. So we're going to chain 5. We go 5. And you can tell that from the chain I increase a little bit. So I increase 1, 2, 3, 4 rows, and then I started to decrease. So let's increase those 4 rows. So here's the chain. Now I'm gonna flip this around, and the very next stitch you're going to enter and grab yarn and pull it through one more time, and that is your first stitch from the row. Gonna do the same thing on the next one. And I already can see that there's an error right here. So you can see how it's kind of tilting towards the left. That's not what we want, because it's decreasing. We want to increase it. So to increase it, we're going to put in on the same stitch a second one. That way it's going to pull towards the right instead of towards the left. Now we're going to go into the next stitch and just do a single one. And can I tell you how much I hate when you just start a project, because the chain here is so wobbly and in the way. But as you create more rows, that feeling is going to diminish. I think always starting a new project is the hardest thing. Once you have already worked on it and you have a rhythm and an understanding of the pattern, it gets a lot easier. All right. There we go. So what does that look like? That looks really good. So I am going to go into the next row up. So I'm gonna pulling a chain, and I'm gonna turn my work. And I am going to use, just like I did in the one before, I'm gonna try to put in 2 stitches right here. Here's the first one. And these are just single crochets that I'm making. Then the next one is gonna be just 1. Single crochets are pretty simple. You just put it through the hole, pull yarn through, pull it between the two loops, and we keep doing that. And kind of look at it. Does it make sense? Does it look like it's increasing? It looks like it's increasing to me. Now we'll see what this looks like if I put in another chain, flip my work. We're going to put in the first hole of the previous chain, and once again we're going to just put a second one in the same area. I'm in my second bowl of the glow-in-the-dark yarn. And remember, the rest of the rows, the rest of the stitches that we're making in this row is just a single stitch in each hole. Now we've reached the end. We're going to turn our work around, but before we do that, we do one chain at the top. And you know what I like to do? Let me take this off. Since I already have the model that I liked, and I had to redo this a couple of times. Nothing is perfect the first time you try it on. I just kind of like to see that it's somewhat within the same size. It doesn't have to be perfect because by the time you put together, you stitch together the back panel and the front panel, they all are gonna look like they're just one thing. So I'm not terribly concerned about that. To me, it looks like this is pretty similar, so I'm gonna continue going with it. And it looks like I just need one more row. This is the very last row that I'm gonna expand again with an extra stitch. And after this row, we'll start decreasing. So here's my finished row. I put in a chain. Now I'm gonna flip it. And in the very next hole, if you will, we're gonna do a stitch and a second one in the very same one, just to continue expanding this, the width of what would be Mickey's head. I'm so excited for this pattern. I think this would be a really cutesy little project that you can do. And here we go. This is what it looks like. So we're going to take one more chain. We're going to flip our work. If we don't flip our work, it's going to look a little goofy how it ends up. And I know when you first, and I don't know how you feel about this, but when I first start working on a project, it looks a little goofy regardless. Not until I get a good rhythm going and I start putting it together, it actually looks pretty symmetrical. All right, so now I'm not really interested in making any more widening my rows, so I'm gonna start just putting one stitch instead of two, because this will allow me to decrease the size of my project. And this last one's a little tight. Ooh, there we go. Okay, let me compare it to the Mickey that I had done before. And it's looking pretty good. So now I'm gonna start decreasing one row, one stitch per row, just to make it like a little bit of the neck area. And it looks like I just need to do 2 rows and then start increasing again. This is relatively quick. It won't take too long if you're a busy mom like myself. You know, this is something that you can sneak in time here and there to get it done. So I finished this row. To move to the next one, I'm going to do 1 chain, turn my work around, and now instead of do it immediately after here, to make it smaller, I'm going to skip it and go into the next one. Do you see how it's starting to kind of pivot to the left? And we just keep, whoops, wrong area. We keep on making the little single crochets until the very end. Since I reached the end of my row, I am going to do 1 chain, flip my work again, and just like I did in the prior row, I am going to skip the one right underneath it, but take on the next one. And you can see again how it's starting, the stitches are starting to decrease. Here we go. I finished my row. I'm just gonna make 1 more. And I'm gonna flip my row, but before I start the next row, I'm gonna compare it once more to what the other Mickey panel looked like. And so far, it looks pretty good. I think I am going to decrease 1 more so it matches what is here. So I'm flipping my work. I'm not going to do it right here. I'm going to skip 1. The single crochet stitch is simple and any beginner can do it. It really makes a beautiful tight knit group of stitches and chains. It's really good for blankets, and those blankets do get very toasty when you do that. All right, I finished my row. I'm gonna do a chain and flip it. Excuse me. And now, basically, I've reached Mickey's neck. So now I'm going to start increasing row by row. Say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, about 8 or 9 rows. So basically I'm just going to keep doing, just like I did here, doing an additional stitch at the very end. And then once that is done, I am going to start playing a little bit, freelancing the pattern and kind of cutting things around just to make it kind of like a little S at the end. So we'll see how that works out. All right, so I'm going to start expanding. So I'm going to put in 2 stitches on the very next stitch where the chain came from. So here's 1, 2, and then the rest is just going to be a single stitch. And these stitches were really tight. I think it's because I was trying to really diminish the row. So they were a little tight. So I'm doing a chain, flipping my work around again, putting in 2 stitches on the same item, the same hole, and then moving on with just one stitch, single crochet on the rest of the row. That's pretty good. This one's super tight too. Sometimes I just need to pull it apart a little bit just so I can see where it needs to go. What I have found challenging, see this one, I didn't think it was so tight, but apparently it was. Ah, there we go. Sorry. What I have found challenging is that this yarn that glows in the dark, you can see it right here, it actually has 4 strings within the rope, if you will, that is used for the yarn. I'm actually going to throw in another stitch right here because I want to make sure that it looks like it's growing, and the double stitch is really what does the trick. I'm going to do 1 chain and flip it around and put in 2 stitches right here. And surprisingly enough, it seemed like this is actually, you're able to do a little bit of work with every skim, even though they're so super teeny tiny. I do read my Amazon reviews before I buy a product, so I knew it was going to be super small before I bought it. And we're reaching the end of this rope. Let's see what this looks like. It's looking pretty good. This side definitely looks a little more bulky because I did put on 2 stitches here. Let me compare it to the other Mickey panel. If it's really protruding, which I was afraid it was, look at that. It's like a freaking shoulder. Maybe if I put it in the back, you can see. See? This whole other stitch definitely did not help me. I should have not done that. So, but that's okay because it's really not a big deal to do it again. So just be careful when you are undoing work, because then you could do it really fast and then take more than you're supposed to. So here's where I'm gonna move slowly. Okay, so here's the chain. I'm gonna take out the chain and I'm gonna take out that extra stitch that I had done. There we go. So right here, I'm gonna just do my chain once more, come to the side and do my 2 stitches like I normally would, and do 1 stitch for the rest of my row. And for this project specifically, I think that's the secret sauce. Just do the double stitch on the very first chain on the row, and then just finish the rest of the row with a single stitch. That way it doesn't look bulky and kind of weird. And you can tell that in some parts it almost looks like it is stretched and there's bigger holes. Don't worry about that. It is going to, once you finish with your project, it's almost as if the yarn relaxes, except right here with that big hole. But I'm not too concerned. Once we put the panels together and there's a stuffing inside it, you're not going to see it. So just trust the process. I know sometimes it's kind of hard to envision what you're working, but just kind of trust the process. And my suggestion would be do the panel or your project, whatever it is. And after you think it's finished, look at it. Does it make sense? And if it does, continue. If it doesn't, pull back the stitches and you can start again. Just be patient with yourself and try to enjoy what you're doing. There's a lot of benefits when it comes to crocheting. Learning a new stitch actually opens up new pathways in your brain, which is something I did not know until very recently. It also decreases stress in finishing a project, which is, I think that's the hardest part for someone like myself. Here I am at the end of the rope. I'm going to do one more chain and turn around my work. I get so excited about starting a new project, and I'm going to do 2 stitches at the beginning, that sometimes I will start a second project because I saw something and I'm so overly excited about doing it. So I have, at this point, to be completely perfectly honest with you, I have about 3 projects I'm working on right now. I have this. I am also working on mesh shawl, which is gorgeous. I don't have it here with me, otherwise I would show you. I got invited to a summer wedding, and during the wedding it was warm during the day, but at nighttime it was so cold. So I really was thinking I really would like to have a shawl with me to throw over my shoulders. So that's why I'm making a summer shawl for those cool summer nights. So I reached the end of my row. So I'm going to do one more chain, flip around my work, do the 2 stitches at the beginning of the row, and continue with just 1 single stitch for the rest of the row. So another project that I am working on is, I think they're called hexagon sweaters, and they have been around for a little while, but I think they became famous when Jason Momoa and Black Jack did the Minecraft movie. I had already worked on some of those sweaters for my kids, so I knew, that they're awesome. But so just so I don't lose you from what I'm doing, I just did a chain and I'm going to flip my work. There we go. We'll do 2 more stitches on the first chain here, and just continue with 1 stitch for the rest of the row. And this looks a little loose, a little more than I would like. See? So I'm actually gonna redo that. I'm gonna just make it a little bit tighter. You have to really create that perfect balance, otherwise it's really hard to put on those stitches when it is too tight. All right, let's turn it around. Let's do 2 stitches on the very first one, and just 1 stitch the rest of the row. So I had done the hexagon sweaters already for my kids. I think I've done so far about 3, but I really but I wanted to make one for myself. So that's what I'm working on. But I need to get into the habit of finishing my first projects first. And I think this one takes priority because Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween is right around the corner. I have tickets So I want to make sure that this is all said and done. Let me just make one chain and turn my work. Let's do the 2 stitches on the very first chain right here. And just 1 stitch on the rest of the row. So I have tickets for Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween, and I had seen the Mickey and Minnie ghost headbands, but I don't believe those are glow in the dark, and mine are going to be. So I am super excited to use them for the party. And we're just finishing this up. Let's see what this looks like, and it's looking pretty good. Let's compare it to the panel we had with Mickey. And it is pretty symmetrical. I'm so excited. It looks like we can grow maybe for a couple more rows, and then we'll start decreasing. So that's pretty cool. Another thing that I wanted to show you was actually, I don't know if you like my nails. I got a new OPI nail polish. OPI does not pay me a cent for me to give you this information. And the name of it is Cajun Shrimp. I just love OPI. I think it's a great product. I'm a working mom. I am cleaning and scrubbing and clearly crafting. And they last a long time. So it makes me pretty happy. Let's see if I do a chain. Oh, and I can't really tell. You see, I don't think I did, but yeah, I had done it. Okay, so let's chain 1 and turn it around, and let's put 2 stitches right here. Oops, I almost did a different stitch. And now we're going to put in just single crochet on every stitch for the rest of the row. I'm used to working with yarn that is a little bit softer. This yarn definitely is a lot more stiff, but I think for the purposes of this project it is a great option. Okay, so I'm gonna do 1 more chain, flip it around. So something that I also, let's do the 2 stitches right here, right underneath the chain. I think one of the reasons why I like this nail polish is because it really brings out my tan. I don't think I've ever been this tan in my whole life. I ended up taking a Caribbean cruise, and we had some milestones in my family, including my mom's birthday, and my family, my sister and I and my mom, we went on a Caribbean cruise. We've never done a cruise before, and it was so much fun. It was so beautiful. We got a lot of sun, a lot of running around in gorgeous places. And I would like to encourage you to see my postings about my Caribbean cruise. We visited 5 islands. Okay, this is the last one. Let me do a chain and let's compare it to the rest of Mickey's body. Okay, this looks good. Perfect. All right, now we can start decreasing and see if I can somehow match this almost like an S pattern at the bottom. But the top's good. All right, so I did my chain. I'm gonna flip my work around, and now we can decrease so we don't have to do that double stitch right underneath. We can just do just a single one, and the rest of the row is gonna be the same thing. So was telling you about the places that we visited, and I am going to tell you in order from my experience which ones I like the best. I can tell you that probably my least favorite island was actually St. Croix. And please don't be offended. I just don't, I don't think we ended up going to the best beach. Excursions and cruises are super expensive, and there were so many of us that I thought maybe we can just find ourselves a place to visit. And we did. We went to Rainbow Beach, and it was very beautiful. So it's not because of the beauty of the place. It is actually, okay, so I reach my row. I'm just going to turn it around after I do my chain. And I'm going to continue doing just a single stitch. So Rainbow Beach was beautiful. And they had a store with great merchandise. My kids and my husband, and I think not my husband, my mom ended up getting UV guards. So there's a store where you can buy equipment and sunscreens. And there's also a restaurant. So it was actually really beautiful. I would definitely go back to that beach. One thing I didn't understand is that it did have some big boulders in the beach, and I actually ended up hurting myself. Not badly, but I kind of bruised. I thought I had broken a toe, but luckily I think it was just badly bruised. But it's definitely worth visiting. Would I go back? Maybe. It depends if I don't find another area that I would like to visit in St. Croix. They did have a great marketplace, and the people were so nice, very nice. After St. Croix, I would say I really did like as well St. Lucia. Okay, let me see what this looks like. It looks good. I'm gonna just do a chain and turn it around, and I think you can start to see how we are decreasing, how this is starting to look like it's leaning this way. So we're just gonna do a single crochet across as well, starting on the very first stitch. So in St. Lucia, it was honestly the most beautiful port. So green, so beautiful. The houses, just really pretty. We ended up going to, I can't remember out of the top of my head, the beach that we went to, but it was nice. It definitely did not have those really large rocks like St. Croix did, but it was super beautiful. It was more peaceful, better terrain to walk on the beach. So St. Lucia was very pretty. I'm trying to remember, what was the other one? We went to St. Thomas. Excuse me. And we ended up going to Megan's Bay. Oh, here we go. I reached the end. I am going to do one chain and turn it around. And at this point, I think I can actually start decreasing my stitches. Let's see. Let's compare it to Mickey. I think I actually went a little too wide. You see here? I'm not too concerned about the ones right here, but here, that's too wide. So I think I might actually have to, at least this row, decrease that one. Let me go back. So St. Thomas was gorgeous. We ended up going to Megan's Bay, and Megan's Bay is like I'm on the top 10 beaches in the world. And before I continue with Megan's Bay, let's focus on this row, because up to this point, I think it was matching pretty well. My Mickey. Nope. I think I might actually have to go down one more row, which is fine. Okay. I really have to start taking things in. Okay, so I think up to this point I'm good. All right, so that's the chain. And now to reduce, instead of going in the first stitch like I was doing before, I actually have to skip it and go into the next one. There we go. Okay, so we'll do just one single crochet the rest of the row, and then one chain and turn it around. So Megan's Bay was by far the more kid-friendly beach that I went to. There was no the water wasn't rough, like the ocean wasn't smacking you. There were no rocks, there was no broken shells, there were no pebbles. It was so beautiful. And the day that we went in, it wasn't crowded, which I heard that other days it could be. Do you see how this one was turning already towards the right? I am going to follow this pattern. I'm not going to put in another stitch right here because then it would be more difficult to decrease it. So instead I'm going to put in a chain and turn my work, skip the first item here and go into the next one. Right, so Megan's Bay, highly recommended. In St. Thomas, I will absolutely, if I have the opportunity to go back there, I would definitely do it. The next beach that I absolutely loved was Barbados. I think my sister was looking to see if she could move in, like actually like buy property there. She loved it so much, and I can see why. We ended up going to Carlisle Bay, and everything was perfect, and the ocean is nice, and it's not as calm as in St. Thomas. You can actually play in the waves and have a good time, but for the most part this matches. I'm not going to redo any of my work. I think this is looking pretty good. I'll just keep decreasing and just kind of slowly comparing it to make sure that I am following my pattern as I should. So this looks good. So because I already decreased it, let me do a chain, and I'm going to skip it, the first one, and go into the second one and just put in one stitch, one single crochet. So Barbados was amazing. And Carlisle Bay was so close to port, we didn't have to drive for a very long time to get there. The one thing that I did not like about Carlisle Bay is that the jet skis get really close to you. And that was, I felt like I have to keep looking around, make sure that they didn't get too close to me or the kids. So that's probably the reason why I'm not giving it number one. But just like looking at it, it was just one of the most beautiful places I've ever been or seen. Okay, we reach here. I'm gonna do my chain, flip around my work, and continue decreasing. So I'm gonna skip the first stitch, go to the next one, and just do one stitch there. So my number one place that I visited during my cruise was actually San Martin. It is my favorite place, my favorite island. We had a driver that drove us to Mullet Bay Beach, the most beautiful place I've ever seen. It had a periwinkle sky and turquoise water. And the ocean was not very calm, which it was kind of fun. My kids loved being tossed around by the ocean. So that was just such a beautiful place. I will absolutely go back if I have the opportunity to. So I encourage you to please check out my playlist with my videos and pictures of the 5 islands that I mentioned. So I did my chain. I'm going to flip this around again and continue decreasing my work. I'll skip the first stitch, go to the next one. Don't know if you can hear my kids in the background. I tried to go to my bedroom and keep them downstairs entertained, but this little voice is scary sometimes. It's either Dad or Dolly barking. It's not easy to have quiet time here in the house. That's why sometimes I'll just go outside and do my videos. Right, let me just do one chain, and I wanna keep an eye on how this looks like compared to my original panel. And it doesn't have to be perfect. I just want to make sure that it is within what I had worked on before. And this, I think, looks pretty good. I think I'm gonna do just one more and then maybe start decreasing to create this look. Right, I had done my chain, so now I'm just gonna continue decreasing, going to the, not the very next one, but skipping that stitch. Okay, we're nearing the end of this row, and I'm actually going to not even go on this stitch because I want to create a little rougher turn this way. So I'm going to start it right there and see how that looks like. Let's compare again. So far, so good. All right, just need, I think I might have to actually skip like 2 to make this. We'll see. How does it look from this side? I think from this side it might make more sense. Okay, Yeah, maybe I just skip 2 right here. Okay, let's see. So I flipped over my work and let's skip 2. Let's see what that looks like. As you can tell, it does require some, especially for this one, because I am trying to match this style, this form that I had given it. It does require me measuring and making sure it looks the way it's supposed to. I'm gonna switch, I put in a chain, I'm gonna switch my work around, skipping that first item, the first stitch. Excuse me, I'm a little raspy today. And I am going to just do 1 chain and flip my work. Let's see what this looks like. Looks pretty good. I think actually would be this way that matches better. Yeah, this looks really good. On this side it absolutely matches better. I need to fix this stitch, it's like a little too stretch. So, not sure why that is. Maybe I made it a little too large. As you can tell, if things don't look the way that I want them to look, I end up just redoing it. Okay, so it's this way. My chain, turn it around. Is this the one that I skipped to? Let me see. Whoops, sorry. Yep, never mind, it is. This is the one where I skipped to. That's why I probably look kind of stretched. So I'm gonna have to make it tight to avoid that look. And if it doesn't work, that's okay, because then I'll just, when I put it together, it really won't show that badly. Also, as you continue working on your project, the yarn really does tend to relax a little bit and fills in all the holes. Oops. Okay, so this looks pretty good. I'm gonna actually just do a chain and turn around my work. And this is looking pretty good. Let's see. This is looking good. So I'm gonna do a couple more chains and then do it this way. A couple more rows, I mean. And I'm gonna skip the first one and go into the second opening. So I made it a lot tighter because it was showing like a hole right there. The problem with that is like it is a lot more difficult to put my stitches right through. Do a chain, flip my work, skip the first one. All right, let's see what this looks like, because I'm afraid it might be a little too tight now. And that's what happens with when you are creating, freelancing your projects, you know. there's a lot of checking, making sure things look okay. Okay, so this is not too bad. I just think this is too short. I should actually put in one stitch back here. So I'm gonna go back and do that. Whoops. See, I took too much now. And I'm gonna put one last one back here. Do a chain, skip the first one. All right, let's see what that looks like. That looks better. Okay, this looks good. I'm happy with this. Okay, so now I think I'm actually going to put in a double crochet here because I want that a little bit extended area right here, and just kind of keep the same one here for a couple more rows, maybe 3 rows. Right, so we needed, I think we're missing a chain. Putting a double crochet right here. Not a double crochet, a double stitch. But the rest just a single stitch. And we wanted to maintain what this looks like. So I'm gonna do a chain, flip this around. And on the very first one, I am going to put in 1, and I'm thinking I'm just going to put in a single crochet right here, like 1 stitch there, and well, maybe I'll put in a second one and look what it looks like with 2. Let's do a chain, flip it around. I am going to put in a stitch in the very first opening and not skipping anything. Let's see what this looks like. Thank you for staying with me during this process. I know it can be a little challenging sometimes. See, I think I went, let me put this underneath it. I think I actually went in too far doing the double crochet here. And by the way, we're just missing a couple of rows and then we're done. Let me redo this part right here. So yeah, you flip it. Let me actually put in 1 chain, flip it around, and you know what I'm gonna do? I am going to decrease it. So I skip the very first one, go into the second one. Just gonna chain 1 and flip it. All right, let's see. This is looking pretty good. It's not, I'm afraid it's not exactly with the finishing as, oh, this one right here, as the other one, but I'm okay with that. Okay, it's actually not too bad. I think I just need 2 more rows and that's it. And I think of the whole project, this was the hardest part, by the way. Oh, this is all tangled. Let's see. Okay, there we go. Let's chain one, turn it around. I'm gonna skip that first one. I'm gonna put it on the second one. Insert it again. I'm going to chain one, turn it around, put it kind of like not the first one but the one in the middle at this point, and this is it. I am pretty sure this is it. Oh, sorry. Yep, this is it. So what we're gonna do is actually we'll put it through here, a loop, and we're gonna cut it, even if I have kid scissors, and we're gonna pull this through. So here we go. Here is the Mickey body, and they might not be fully identical, but they are symmetrical, and when they're sewn together, they're gonna look pretty good. Thank you for sticking with me for the hardest part of the project. In the next part, we're actually going to make little arms that we can attach to our ghosts, and also some, oh no, that's another arm, ears, little ears too. So we can start finishing up the project. So since I'm not using a stencil for Mickey Mouse, I just want to make sure that it somewhat matches what I am doing with the proportions of the Minnie Mouse. It doesn't have to be exact, but I want to make sure Mickey's mouth is not by his neck. So I think that's where I might start first, is his mouth right here. And it looks above his neck, is kind of a little bit lower than what it would be like the cheekbones right here. So I think right here will be a good place for it. I could also start with the nose right here. Yeah, maybe I'll do that. Because I think right here, you see the areas that are more protruding to the sides right here. If we put it right in the middle, the nose, I think that would be quite appropriate. So what we're going to do is just put in the brown threading needle, and I'm going to go not on the very next opening, but the one right next to it. This is where the nose is going to be. You see how you tighten things and then things start to take shape. I think I'm just going to work a little bit setting up the area where the nose is. Just kind of the parameters, and then I'll fill it in more as I continue working on this. So that's the bottom of the nose. Now I'm gonna work towards the top. And I'll continue to fill in the empty space. And I will have to go back and forth a few times until the nose is completely filled out. Okay, so this is a very rough draft right now, but this is where I want my nose to be. So for the sake of time, I'm actually going to move on into the next items. I'm thinking I am going to do the eyes. So the eyes don't have to be too far apart, but I'm thinking maybe one right here and the other one right here. They're kind of oval. Let me see where that ended. It's here. So I'm going to go on this side. And I'm going to go into the actual length of the eye. And like I said, at this point, I'm kind of just determining parameters. It's going to look a lot better once I actually start focusing and filling in the blank areas. So at least I know I'm going to start working here in one eye. So now I want to make sure that I transfer that on this side as well. And once we fill things up, this is going to look a lot better, I promise. Whoops. As I somehow managed to do that. Now we're going to work in doing the ears. We are going to need 4 sets, 2 per each character. So we'll need 1 ear here and 1 ear right here. I already have 3 out of the 4 ready. So let's work on, since I show you the ears, let's work on the ears first. And while I do like this yarn, which I found on Amazon, it is a little bulky. Actually, let me try that again. Just put in a loop, little knot. A little loose. So I'll tighten it up. And for the ear, I'm just going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Then I'm going to go back to that very first loop and put my hook through, but I want to put it through the center. There we go. We're going to grab the loose yarn and pass it through the loop. So this is what I wanted to do. Here we go. And you see here it created an empty space. We're going to go in and make 6 stitches. I'm gonna do double crochet. 1, 2, I'm gonna go over that loose yarn. 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay. And I'm going to go here and tighten this as much as I can, and that is actually the hole. It's a little too loose, and we really want to have it a lot more tighter. So I'm gonna actually unravel it. There's no shame in that. It's, at least for me, it's kind of common. If my loop is a little too loose, it will do something like that. All right, let's see if we can make that a little bit tighter. So once again, 3. I'm gonna go back into the first one and pull that loop through. And this one I'm keeping it pretty close. So I'm gonna go into that circle, that empty space, pull through, pull another one through, and I'm sorry, this one I am making a lot tighter than the other one. And it still is gonna be a little bit loose, but it's okay. So 2, 3, 4, 5, oops, and 6. Okay. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to join to that very first stitch I did. I'm gonna pass my hook in the top and pull this through the 2 loop 12. So I'm gonna enter in the space, and this is pretty tight because I wanted to make sure that the center looked pretty tight, kind of like the ear that I had done before. So I'm gonna enter in the first space, hold on to the yarn, pull it through, just do a single crochet, do another stitch right on the same spot. I'm gonna go to the next one. So basically we are doing 2 stitches in each previous stitch from the row below. So a total of 12 stitches for the ear. Oh, and this one is kind of wide. Did I do 2? I did. Now please remember, if you like crocheting or Halloween or Disney, please make sure to subscribe to my channel. I have so many ideas coming up for a couple of projects that I want to create for Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween. So I'm very excited about that. So please don't forget to subscribe and like this video. Hold on. I feel like, yeah, this is just one yarn that I'm picking up on. Okay. Okay, and I'm just going to join you to the one here on top. Pull it through. I'm going to create a chain and turn it around. And this one does have a little bit more space than I would like on the center, but not enough that I want to go ahead and recreate it again. I think ears, as you can tell here, once you finish them, the yarn relaxes a little bit and it starts filling out the holes. So even though it kind of looks really stretched out sometimes when you start, it ends up filling up on its own. Same thing here. There's a couple of places. It's not perfect, but once again, it's not intended to. I think when it's all together and these are all sewn in, it's gonna look pretty good. Okay. Alright, so let's do one more yarn because, one more row. Because this looks a little bit smaller compared to the other ones. So I'm gonna make it just a little bit bigger. So just one more row. And I'm just gonna continue doubling the stitches that go in every space. Basically until it takes a little shape of a mouse ear. This will be my second crochet project that I have posted in my channel. My previous project was an infinity scarf that I gave a friend that was moving to Maine. And I encourage you to please go visit that episode too, because the result was really good. It came out looking really good. And I think that'd be a fun project to do, especially in the fall. Okay, let's see what that looks like. Okay, so they're about the same size. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to just finish it right now. I might just go, yeah, they're about the same size actually. So I think I'm going to just finish it now. So I'm going to cut it here. I'm going to take the yarn, pull it through the hole. Just adjust it, and I'm gonna weave in through the spaces all this loose yarn so it ends up looking like this. So that's all set. Now what I want to show you how to do is the little arm. So now for the arms, you're going to need about 8 individual little pieces of arm. So the front and back, so that's one set. Front and back, another set. And that way when we are putting together the panels, it'll be like this, and we can put stuffing in them if we wanted to. I have to see how the body looks first. I might try to do one with stuffing and see if it really makes a difference or it looks goofy. I might just not and just keep it together like this, just because here, or if I put something here, it has to be somewhat thin. Because this yarn is it's kind of heavy. It's quite robust. So anyway, so we need one more little panel here so we can finish all the arms. Just a little too much. Can I tell you, I have already lined up 2 other projects in my head of what I want to do next, and they're all inspired by the ghost Mickey and Minnie. All right, so to do the little arms, we're going to start from here, which is the base of the arm. We're going to do a chain of 5. So we do our little loop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now from here we're going to start decreasing. And to do so, on the first chain, you're going to go into the very next opening in the chain. I'm going to do this. So you put through the hook, pull yarn through, leave 2 loops on the hook, and pull yarn through. And that's the stitch we're going to be doing, which I believe is a single crochet stitch through the very end of this row. And I know this looks a little stretched, but that's okay. We'll pull on that and it looks better. All right, so we're going to do a chain. We're going to flip our work. This actually looks a little tighter than the other. I think I'm going to actually have to go another one. So once again with me, you'll notice I have no shame in redoing my work. So we had 5. Let's go for an extra one. Let's go for 6. All right, and now we're going to go back into the previous opening we have. Pull yarn through. Do the same. Yarn through. Pull yarn through. And the very first one. Yarn through. And even though I didn't make the stitches that tight, it does seem like with this yarn, and I think it's because it has so many pieces of thread that make up the yarn, it is really tight at times, especially when you're just start your rows. All right, let's see what this looks like, and if I have to do it again, I will. I think I'm gonna have to, guys. It just does not look great. All right, so let's start with 6. Sometimes if it's stretched out on one end, it is better to just start again. Ready? 3, 4, 5, 6. We'll go into the previous stitch, pick up the yarn, pull through, 2 loops on the hook, single crochet. Sorry. Let's see, I try not to make that one as tight. Okay, it looks more like it. It's close enough that I feel comfortable. All right, here we're going to do 1 chain, flip our work. We're just doing exactly what we did in the previous row. Just single crochet all around. Okay, chain 1, turn around, and at this point I would like to compare it to what we had. Okay, so this is good. Starting from here, we're going to start reducing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, about 5 rows to the very top, creating almost like a triangle. So I'm going to skip the first opening. I'm going to go into the second one. Go into the next one, and next one. From here, I'm going to do a chain, turn it around. I'm going to go skip the one right next to it and go into the second one. I'm going to do a chain, flip it around, skip the one right next to it, going to the middle one. Do a chain, turn it around, skip the one next to it, going to the middle one. And I'm just going to do at this point a little chain, turn it around, go into, I guess I could go into the next one at this point and just pull it through once and kind of look to make sure that it somewhat matches what's here. And it is a little smaller, but once I put it together, it's not gonna really be that noticeable. So I'm not going to fuss over it too much. It doesn't have to be perfect. And actually with this type of yarn, because it's kind of hard and stiff, it is kind of difficult to exactly replicate the work you did without really undoing and trying to tie things again. And for the purposes of what I'm doing, it doesn't have to be exact. Once I join them together, they're going to look absolutely fine. All right, so we have our ears, we have our little hands. Now we need to make our faces. And I had started experimenting here with Minnie's face, which I am, for the most part, content with. I had used a stencil. I drew her face, and her face was actually really pretty, and then I put it in here and I started sewing above the stencil, but the paper was kind of thick, and the fact that this is so stiff did not help. It almost pinched her face a little bit. But once again, for the intents and purposes of what this is, I didn't feel like I had to go through all the work of removing all the stitches once more and starting all over again. So what I'm going to do is I am going to freelance Mickey's face, working with what I learned from this face right here. Basically, I'm just going to try to do eyes, nose, and a mouth. I'm not even going to attempt to do like cheeks. Maybe I'll do eyebrows. But I think for now we can stop for a second and I can prep yarn and some thread to get this done. I did use a dark brown because I think the dark brown will look good with a pink. But if you prefer black thread, that is absolutely fine as well. So this is what the final product looks like. Is it perfect? No, but it's everything I was hoping for. I think they're super cute, and unlike the Disney ears, this one's actually glow in the dark. How cute are they, huh? I encourage you to do this project on your own because there is nothing than doing something and finishing the final product. It really gives you a huge sense of accomplishment. If you like this video and you would like to see more of them, please make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Please give me a big thumbs up and share my video. Thank you.